some of the pasta water in here, just a tiny amount. Give a little bit in case I need a little bit more. More blue cheese. And that's probably right. Oh, and I should put some pepper in too. I'm not going to add any more salt because I added the bouillon cube. If it needs more salt, I'll add it at the end. I might add more pepper at the end, like in the final dish too. Oh good, this thickened up nice. I don't know if you guys can see on camera, but it's like got a nice kind of consistency now. Still a little iffy, and I think that's because this has been a disaster. No, it hasn't been a disaster because this has been a little bit weird. Like the yogurt responded a little bit weird, and I've cooked this with yogurt before, but not in Italy, and everything's just a little bit different sometimes. So I have done this with yogurt before, but that was I don't know with Greek yogurt, and I'm wondering if the added sugar made a difference, like in the way it cooked or something. Possible. But anyways, this looks really nice. Oh, the pepper looks good too. The cheese is melting. Okay, I think we're good. I'm gonna get these tortellini out of their strainer so that they don't get too cold. Hey, I lost mine. Where'd it go? Where did it go? It's on the ground. Oh, where is it? It's in the sink. That's okay. It can stay in the sink. Okay, let's start putting stuff away. While that continues to cook. I really need to get some giant sized freezer bags because all I have are these like medium sized ones, and they're cute. They have little hearts on them. They match my dishcloth, but they don't help when I need to put like an entire thing of tortellini in something. Oh, I'll just take these out of the container. That one has an easy solution. The blue cheese doesn't, so I don't want to take the blue cheese out of its packaging. I have to remember to eat these. Last time I put tortellini in a bag, I just didn't eat them. That's always so sad. Okay, how we doing? How we doing? How we doing? Put a lid on that. Oh yeah, okay, good. Sticking to the bottom, so pretty much done. Oh, okay, let's get rid of. I guess I can make more coffee now that I'm gonna turn off these burgers. I'm like, let's get rid of my empty coffee. Hey Wonka! How are you today? What are you up to? Oh, this smells nice with the blue cheese now. I almost wonder if I should add more. No, don't do it. Don't do it. This is such a rich dish in the first place, and the fact that there's sugar in it is gonna make it even richer. So I'm like, don't add more blue cheese. It'll be fine. Oh yeah, see now it's kind of like coating instead of just disappearing. That's what really. Oh, it tastes really good. Okay, fuck, we're good. I'm trying not to swear as much on this channel, and then I just constantly do it anyways. Okay. But see how it's kind of like sticking, and it's kind of like it has a layer now instead of just like a wateriness. And how it's consistency, there aren't those like chunks that I was originally worried about. They all kind of blended themselves nicely in. Okay, now I do have Parmesan I could put on top of this, but I'm kind of wondering if that's going to be too much. Okay, I definitely want to bring the pepper over to the table. I'm not going to need the salt. I tasted that. That doesn't need any salt. What else can I bring over? Coloring. comments are off. I put away all the refrigeratables. Where's my camera? Pesto. Mushroom tortellini with a blue cheese cream sauce. Yeah, with pepper. Anything else? No, that's about it. Perfect. Oh, I'm hungry now. Not below the breaker now. No, that's the only thing happening. Where is my... I don't normally sit right here, but I like it for the stream because of the background. But I'm like directly in the air conditioner, so. Where did I leave the controller for the air conditioner? Goddamn. Oh, I bet it's on that tray that I keep almost knocking over. I bet that's where it is. Do I want to put like basil or rosemary on this? Rosemary might be nice. Rosemary's good on everything. Okay. Got some strawberry chocolate coffee. Oh, it was right here. It wasn't even on the shelf. It was just literally on the top of my desk. So, you know, I found it. What's my hair doing today? I was pleased with my bangs this morning, but I don't know. I need a haircut. The rest of it needs a haircut. But it's been soft lately. I finally figured out a hair care routine that's working for this climate, because I was struggling when I first got here. My hair would not stop being greasy and it was really, really frustrating. But I've kind of got it to settle down now, thank goodness. Oh, I'm excited. You know, the sauce tasted really good after I added the blue cheese, so I haven't tried this tortellini before, but it's mushroom tortellini, so I'm assuming it's going to be really good. That's good. Oh, why didn't that work? I'm like, did the cover upload to Amazon KDP yet? No. It failed. I don't know if it failed before or after the router went off. Because it was quite a while after I hit upload when the internet went off. So let's try again. Maybe it'll go faster this time. Make sure I stir that because it's got chocolate pieces in it. I need them to melt. I'm like exhausted. That was like Cooking anything with a cream sauce is usually a little bit tiring for me just because it takes a while and you have to like stand there and you can't let it cook. You have to like pay attention to it, and I'm bad at that. But that was way more stressful than usual because I fucked it up twice. But we solved it and it tastes good in the end. Words of encouragement. Not sure if you're familiar with the African hip-hop star T-Pain, but you watch his streams on Twitch. I know of him. I have never seen his streams on Twitch. I'll have to look it up. He's rich and his streams are constantly dropping, so don't be embarrassed. It happens even to the rich. That's really good to know that it happens to everyone. Yeah, you think it would be flawless, but nope. He gets embarrassed about it sometimes, and it's kind of just humbling to watch. That's excellent to know that, yeah, like even people who like you'd think could have it perfect still deal with the same, you know, kind of problems anyways. Mm. I think the camera's on a bit of an angle, but I'm not gonna worry too much about it. Okay, what did I say I was gonna do? To-do list? I don't want to do that. What else did I say I was gonna do? I said I was gonna do something as I ate. I don't think it was to-do list. Maybe it was. If someone remembers, let me know. What was it? It's raining really weirdly outside. Like, it's really heavy rain. It's like big droplets, but like it still hasn't covered the entire patio. There's still like some little tiny dry sections on the patio. So that's weird. Usually when it rains, it pours. What was I gonna do? My food's getting cold. Well, I think of what it was. I'm not really a big pepper person, except on mushrooms and blue cheese. Then I love it. Popcorn too, but only in the right mood. Usually I just want my salt and butter. Or cinnamon sugar popcorn. If you've never tried cinnamon sugar popcorn, you just make up an extra, like you make your regular popcorn and then you make a little dish of melted butter with cinnamon and sugar in it and you drizzle that over top of the popcorn. It's great. What was I going to do? I did the dishes. I cooked dinner. I'm eating dinner. I made the cover. I'm waiting for the cover to upload and I can't do anything with it until it uploads. And I knew that, so there was something else I was gonna do that wasn't the cover. I can't even remember if it was related. I feel like it wasn't related. I feel like it was something different. What was it? Was it book club? Did I say I was going to do book club when I was eating? I should wait until after I finished eating to do book club, but I think that's what it was. I think that's what my brain is trying to remember. Okay, so do book club after this. I never posted in Discord that I changed the book I'm reviewing today. Guess I should post that in Discord. Maybe I should watch something. and take a real break and relax while I'm eating. What did I just finish watching? I feel like I watched a lot since I last streamed because my life has been a mess. But I just finished watching the second season of what one thing? Oh, I know what it was. Okay, so I finished the second season of Human Resources, which was good. It wasn't as good as the first season. The first season had like made me cry. The second season made me cry once, but it wasn't as strong as the first season. So I highly recommend the first season of Human Resources. But like, if you don't like the sense of humor, honestly, just skip any parts you don't like. If you're like, this scene is stupid and dumb, skip to the next scene, because there's some really emotional good moments in that show, but there's also a lot of really stupid humor. And then the other thing is, I finished off Community for some reason. Like, I've seen the first couple seasons of Community way back when it was new, or relatively new. I didn't watch it right when it was brand new. And then I stopped watching it because the characters started getting replaced. But it was worth watching to the end. I actually enjoyed watching the final seasons. I don't think the last episode of Community was as good as it could be. I feel like they struggled, and you could see that they were struggling with how to do a final episode. And it wasn't bad. I just feel like they could have done so much more with the final episode, and they didn't. Like, I'm kind of mad that they didn't get like Troy back just for a cameo in the final episode, because they got Shirley back for a cameo, but not Troy. And I get that he's off doing stuff, but I mean, this was like, I don't know, 2015 or something. It was a while ago. I get that that actor was off doing stuff, but like, that kind of annoyed me. And also, like, the last episode writing just wasn't there. Also, they tried to do a paintball episode right near the end, like a final paintball episode, and it fell super flat. Like, it was not interesting. It was not fun. And their paintball episodes are like some of the best episodes in the show, like the Western paintball episode and the Star Wars paintball episode. And I think there's another one that's really good. I like some of the best episodes. They're phenomenal episodes. This one they tried to do like a spy, I don't know, secret agent, maybe. I really couldn't even tell. I think that's what they were going for, was some sort of like Mission Impossible, James Bond kind of theme. But it fell really flat, and it was not a good paintball episode, which really sucked, because it was like, it was either like the second or the third last episode of the season of the show. And I'm like, oh, that was not a good way to do your last paintball episode. Human Resources and Community. And Community is, I would recommend the first couple seasons of Community to anyone, like the first 1 or 2 seasons. It's one of those shows where, again, the first couple episodes aren't great. It's a very young cast, and they have to kind of get into their roles. So if you watch the first episode of Community and you're like, this is garbage, skip ahead a couple episodes, because it actually is really solid throughout like the second half of season 1 and like all of season 2, and I think most of season 3. And then it kind of like they start losing cast members, and they start like having, there's some cast problems and some writing problems, I think. And I stopped watching it years ago, but then I recently finished it, and I did appreciate finishing it. Like, I did appreciate that most of the characters got a little bit of an arc. Most of the characters kind of grew and changed over the whole show, and I appreciated watching it to the end, which I didn't think I was going to be able to say. But the last episode fell flat. And the last paintball episode fell flat, which was more disappointing, in my opinion. And then, yeah, Human Resources, like, I tried to watch Big Mouth and I couldn't get through it. And then I tried to watch it again after watching Human Resources, and I got through more of it. But then I just stopped. Like, it's not for me. Whereas Human Resources was absolutely, like, worth watching. Like, it touches on some really... It's like Inside Out for adults. And I do recommend it. As long as you can get past the... There's a lot of, like, gross humor in it. And again, like... I just, like, honestly, I just skip those scenes when they start getting too ridiculous. I'm like, where is the next scene? My go-to TV show on any given night, that changes every month, because I'll, like, watch something and then switch. Although, for the past couple years, I've been making my way through Deep Space Nine, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and I'm on the final season of that, and I've kind of been, like, putting it off finishing it. But I would recommend Star Trek Deep Space Nine for anyone, because it's just a really, really solid show. It's like, you know, still kind of, it's right in that era of TV where it was transitioning from episodic to long-term plots. And so it has both. Like, every episode stands on its own, but also throughout the course of a season and the course of the show, there's like these long plots that do pay off. So it has this perfect blend of episodic and seasonal plots. More than that, like full series plots. So, and it's just good. Like, the writing's good, the characters are good, the cast is good, dialogue is good, plots are good. Deep Space Nine. Go to. The last one you watched was The Mandalorian. How many seasons is The Mandalorian on now? Because I've watched the first season and I did like it. But I don't know if I like it enough to watch more of it. Like, I don't know if I need more of it. No. And Boba Fett. Is Boba Fett a show? Because if so, I have not seen it. I have not had a chance to see the new season of Ted Lasso. And I haven't finished watching Better Call Saul yet. Better Call Saul is actually rising to the top of my list because it was kind of hovering around the middle for a long time. Because I just didn't want it to be over. Like, I don't like finishing things when I really like them. I just like let them sit forever. And I'm like, it's not over if I don't watch the last episode. If I don't read the last chapter. But Better Call Saul's rising to the top of my list because I've kind of gotten through a bunch of other stuff recently. And I do want to see more Ted Lasso because Ted Lasso was just so enjoyable to watch. Like, it was just easy to watch. 3 seasons. The first 2 were good, and the third is only for hardcore nerds. And a lot of people who gave it flack didn't understand it. Okay, so it stopped being like general entertainment and started being like just kind of, I don't want to say fan service, but it started to appeal to those who only have more in-depth knowledge, shall we say. Book of Boba was very good. Your only question is why they didn't give his tribal name when he was incorporated into the Tusken tribe during the fire dance ceremony. Ah! Haven't started Saul and Ted yet, but your mother's been trying to get you to watch them both for ages. Okay. Better Call Saul is the best thing on television. Like, it's just the best show that's come out in a long time. It's really high quality. It's really good. It's really, like, I can get that there's some people who wouldn't like it, but for most people, it is a solid drama. Like, if you like drama, it's so good. Like, it's just, the characters are just, like, insanely real. They're just, like, really realistic. Like, they fuck up, but you don't feel like they're fucking up to move the plot of the TV show forward and, like, get another episode. You feel like they're fucking up because they've built these characters into these realistic, flawed people who make bad decisions because of the stuff that's happened to them in their lives, and you can understand why they're making these terrible decisions even as you can see their bad decisions, and even as the characters can see it's a bad decision that they're making, but they either can't stop themselves or they can't find a better solution, and so they do it anyways. And it's just, it's just so good. Better Call Saul is honestly like highest rated TV show for me. Like, just so good. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I would rate higher than it. Not anything recent, that's for sure. Like, I'm trying to think. Better Call Saul. Top 3 of all time TV shows. Probably top 1. I don't want to. If I say that, then in like a day, I'll be like, oh, I forgot about X, and that's actually the best. But yeah, Better Call Saul. Ted Lasso's good, but it's not anything special. It's just like a cute, I don't even want to say lighthearted because it gets kind of like heavy at certain points too. Like, it has real emotional depth in Ted Lasso, but it really is more of like one of those kind of just regular TV shows. It's quite good. The cast is good. The writing's good. The plots are interesting, but it's not something that's going to be remembered
in a couple decades, whereas Better Call Saul is definitely going to be remembered in a couple decades. I've seen so many people who are like, this is the best thing I've ever seen. This is the best thing on television. Like, it's a standout Better Call Saul. And I think, honestly, it has better artistic integrity than Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad was good. Don't get me wrong. I liked Breaking Bad. It was phenomenal. I think Better Call Saul, in the fact that it kind of refuses to glamorize its protagonist, holds up a bit better artistically. Because it's not like a power fantasy like Breaking Bad was. Breaking Bad had all the other stuff. It had all the real drama, the real emotions, the real plots and characters and, you know, issues. But at the end of the day, it was still strung along by this power fantasy, this like very superficial fantasy. Whereas Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul really like throws that by the wayside pretty quickly. Like Jimmy gets a couple like wins and glamorous moments and exciting things happen, but he mostly just gets like fucked around by his own life and like by his own choices, and it just feels so, but also in a very enjoyable way to watch. You just want to watch it so bad. And then the side characters are good too. Like Kim is so good, Mike is so good. Fuck, they're all so good. The villains are all good. And also Better Call Saul is not even long. It's like not even a long watch. It can take a while to get through just because you might not want to just slam it. Because like I said, it's heavy. So I would not, it's not a show I would recommend just like binging. Like maybe a season at a time if you really wanted. But even that might be a little heavy. Because Saul is not light. But yeah, worth watching all of. Oh, the dish. Was half eaten now. But doesn't look very good now because it's half eaten. It's all mushed around. But yeah, tortellini, cream sauce, and then you can see the pepper on top and blue cheese bits. The last 2 episodes are black and white. See, I knew the last episode was black and white. I didn't know the last 2 episodes were in black and white. Fuck. Okay. I can only give them a pass on that because they've held up. Because my instinct there is to go like, okay, now you're just like getting high on your own artsiness, right? Like, oh, it's so artsy. But I think the brilliance in Better Call Saul is that throughout the entire run of the show, they've built up this like trust that they can do these kind of emotional, like artsy, like high concept scenes and moments and entire episodes in kind of high concept, and it can still work. Like, is high concept the right word? I feel like high concept might be the opposite. High concept might be like blockbuster movies, but like artistic kind of concept. Conceptual might be the word I'm looking for. I think it might be conceptual, not high concept. I think it might be the opposite. Anyways, because the Better Call Saul built up through the course of the seasons this like absolutely brilliant like cold opens, these brilliant like asides, these brilliant like side character scenes and moments. Like we trust them to do 2 full episodes in black and white because they're gonna knock it out of the park. Like they're gonna kill it and make it worthwhile. Plus they've like repeatedly integrated the black and white with like Jimmy's future. So yeah, I'm really excited to finish it off. You watch it on AMC, but you say it's better to watch on Netflix. What's the difference? But yeah, if you haven't seen Breaking Bad, or if you didn't like Breaking Bad, give Better Call Saul a shot because it is quite different. If you absolutely hated Breaking Bad, you might also dislike Better Call Saul because it's similar in some ways. And if those are the things you hated about Breaking Bad, you'll also hate it. But for a lot of people, it is also different enough that it holds up in a totally different way. And no commercials. Yeah, that would make it better. Hey, you study with Duck. How's it going? What are you up to today? We're just talking about TV. Oh, thank you for the sub! Party! Woo, Virtuous Wife is the best. Virtuous Wife is on a roll today. Oh. And we'll give you a shout out here. I think I spelled that right. Getting mentally ready. Yeah, I know that feeling. Like, okay, I gotta stream. Alright, prepare. What are you working on today? The commercials were terrible for Better Call Saul and AMC. It broke the flow of the show. Yeah, that's rough. Because I also feel like while Better Call Saul is designed to be played on cable television, like that's obviously its, I guess, it still has a traditional audience. I feel like the directors and producers were basically making movies by the end and probably weren't going to worry about commercials and flow and that kind of stuff if it impeded the show content that they wanted to do. And I think that's, again, like that kind of artistic integrity. It's like, well, we made this show the way it's supposed to be watched, which is without commercials. And unfortunately, it's aired with commercials by default. But yeah, I could totally see them being like, we didn't plan for this to be watched with commercials, so... Psych. Excellent. Hope you can do an 8-hour stream tomorrow. It's gonna take everything, but you can do it. Yes, you can do it! Woo! Is this gonna be a study stream? Do you have an exam coming up? No, I don't remember. Are you a doctor or you're studying to be a doctor? Or you're a doctor and you're working? Or you're a doctor and you're studying something else to be more of a doctor? You have the PhD, no more exams. Excellent. Yeah, exams are the worst. So are you still in school? Blogger, counselor, YouTuber, and content writer. Okay. Excellent. I have to check out your YouTube channel. If you have a link to it, feel free to post it in the chat. What kind of videos do you post on YouTube? But you love studying. So you're always pursuing one or another course, mostly online now. Which was in immunology, and then you shifted focus to psychology, PhD in immunology. Ah, that's very interesting. I did my my degree in my bachelor's degree in microbiology. So I love all that stuff. But I hated exams so much that I was not willing to go through more school. Better Call Saul is an art show. Agreed. 100%. So many secrets are given to view ahead of time what might happen in the episode. Yes, they like put all these little details in place. Like all the detail work in Better Call Saul is insane. Only went to Bachelor of Psych because that's where your last career sent you. You have 2 YouTube channels, Dog Care and Mental Health Productivity. Oh, what kind of dog do you have? Yours is a Bachelor of Microbiology and Biochemistry double majors. Mine was like, my school had like, you could do microbiology, you could do biochemistry, you could do microbiology and biochemistry. And I think I shifted more towards the microbiology side because I didn't like the biochemistry side. Well, I didn't like organic chemistry. Organic chemistry, fine. I hated that shit. So I shifted my focus to more like genetics and cell signaling mostly, actually. Love cell signaling. But speaking of psychology, I'm interested in learning about, I guess, like family psychology right now. So if you have any courses or books you could recommend on family psychology, or like, what have I heard it called? Structural family psychology, something like that. Like basically just how to get your family to fucking talk to each other about their issues with each other. That's kind of what I'm interested in researching right now. And I've kind of been looking for a course or a book or something, preferably like a free online course, but I'm in a paid one as well. But something that doesn't require previous credentials, because I don't have any degree in psychology. But I love psychology courses. If you have any recommendations or books or anything. You're in school just to keep your sanity. You have a 4-year-old pit bull, Basenji mix, Delta, and a 6-month-old Zeus. Oh, wow. Oh, a 6-month-old must be a handful. That keeps you busy. My, one of my friends right now is getting 2 little, what are they? They're like miniature wiener dogs or something. They're so freaking cute. They're like 6 weeks old right now, so she hasn't taken them home yet. But they're like speckled. They're like all these multicolored, and one of them is more blonde and one of them is more brunette. These 2 little puppies. They're getting both of them. But they think they've decided on the names, and they're calling the brunette one Malibu and the blonder one Barbie. And I fucking died when I heard this because those names are too fucking perfect. Like, are you kidding me? Malibu and Barbie? Just, I'm done. It's perfect. So good. You work mostly with trauma patients, past trauma, PTSD, and childhood repressed trauma. Yeah, so most of my research in psychology has been into PTSD, CPTSD, and kind of things that are associated with that, because that's kind of where the people in my life have had struggles, and so that's kind of where a lot of my research has been into. So also, if you have any good resources on that, feel free to send it my way. Or feel free to just post in chat too. Or post in the Discord. I think we have a psychology channel in the Discord. So 5 months he was crazy. After 5, he's calmed a bit. That's good. Ah, that's cool considering you're a US veteran with PTSD. You also care for 30 dogs in your area. They live on the road, so their training, care, and psychological needs are your responsibility. Wow. And retired, 21 years, 7 months, US Army. Wow. Well, respect to all the veterans here. Only 34 with PTSD. Life sucks. Ugh, yeah, that's fucking That's rough. Okay, this was the right amount of food because I can eat a couple more of these, but I couldn't eat much more than that. And I could stop right now, but I'm not going to because there's only 3 left. You tried a few but haven't found one that fits your needs. Oh my god, that's the worst part, right? Because it's like so much struggle to actually get in to see someone. And like half the time you're on a wait list and then you're waiting and then you see someone and then they fucking suck. Or they're fine but they're not helping. That's the worst too, because then you end up stuck with them for months and you're like, is this helping? I don't think it's helping, but they're not doing anything wrong. And then you're like, ah, fuck, I guess I need someone else. Keep trying though, keep trying. Eventually, it's like dating. Eventually you'll find the right one. Someone will connect and say things in a way that will click. Yeah, there's no age for PTSD or even species. Seen it in humans of all ages and even dogs. Yeah, but it sucks the younger you are. Yeah, the more... the earlier you have to deal with that stuff, the suckier. Totally fair. They sent you to AMU, get a bachelor's in IO Psych, so you could be a What is IO Psych? I don't know this term. So you could be a multinational liaison, and you're a 12N heavy equipment engineer by trade. That's a bit of a switch, isn't it? It's harder to come out when it's something you face since childhood. Yeah, it can also be harder for people to, like... I've met people who didn't, like, understand or didn't believe or wouldn't, like, even consider that they might have trauma. And it's like, I mean, like, I'm not gonna tell you something about yourself. You gotta figure it out for yourself. But, like, holy fuck, you should look more into this because these were traumatizing things that happened to you. And probably there would be some benefit in sorting through that. Yeah, when it happens when you're a kid, you just think, like, people just think it's, like, normal or it's fine or it's just something they have to deal with. And it's like, actually, could feel better if someone helped you. Industrial organizational psychology. Very cool. So I'm always very proud of anyone who's like, I'm going to work on this. I'm going to go talk to someone, or I'm going to read a book, or I'm going to try to figure this out because it's hard. You just went out to get your dinner order, and one of your outside kids, Winston, was waiting for you. And you had the biggest smile ever. So much serotonin. Oh, that's excellent. The worst is when people think it's a phase. Yeah, like, just ignore that. That'll go away. You'll feel better soon. And it's like, actually, maybe that should be dealt with. Maybe that was a real trauma. Oh my god, when people, like, try to decide for other people what's a real trauma and what isn't. Like, can we sit down, please? Yeah, you'll be okay. Just keep going instead of actually helping them get the help they need. The worst is when it sneaks up on you. Where you live, this is so prevalent. Yeah, that whole kind of just keep your head down and power through it, and eventually it'll stop hurting. Because eventually you just won't feel. Great solution. Oh yeah, in a culture where it's hard to even tell patients you're suffering from depression, that's like the worst part. Oh, that's rough. Yeah, at least depression is somewhat normalized in North America. And even worse when the parents refuse to let their kids go to therapy because they don't accept that anything they might be doing might be causing their kids to be depressed. Their kids can't possibly be depressed. Afterwards, you ended up working with multinationals on engineering projects, which you'd done prior to get the piece of paper. Yeah, eventually you just go numb. And expect the worst from everyone and push everyone away. Exactly, and then you wonder why all your relationships aren't working. Yeah. You wonder why everyone's so awful, or you wonder why everyone's so stupid, or you wonder why, you know, everyone treats you so terribly, and really you're the one treating yourself terribly. Yeah, and it's like, well, I'm perfectly happy, I'm perfectly fine, I'm perfectly content, and it's like, okay, but then X and Y and Z happens, and it's like, really? Is that what you call, like, that's perfectly happy, I'm perfectly normal, I'm perfectly fine? Like, I get that most of the time you're happy, but then stuff comes up, and it has clearly not been dealt with. Did the stream cut out again? It's still going from my end. Oh, but the data rate is really low. It's 127 kilobytes a second, so that's kind of shitty, and I don't know why. Darn it, it was quite solid for a while there, but yeah, the rate did just drop. It's 50 kilobytes per second, so if it drops, that's what's going on, but I'm not trying to end the stream yet, so I'll be around. Just come check back again in a minute and see if it's working again. We're back! Pika! Hey, Pika Pika, how are you? Yeah, curious to see studies on social media and the developmental process. Yeah, I think there's going to be some really interesting stuff that comes up. I mean, I think a lot of it is pretty predictable, I guess you could say. Like, oh, just spending, 18 hours a day flicking from one thing to another every 0.2 seconds cause changes to your attention and, like, brain functioning? Yeah, probably. Yeah, when people always behave happy, something's definitely wrong. Well, and that's the thing. It's happy until it's so sad that it's crying, and it's like, okay. What is up? Not much. We did cooking today. We did some co-working earlier. We're doing graphic design. We made delicious pasta for dinner. And then we're going to do book club in a bit here. I have like one pasta and then I'm going to switch over to book club. But I'm just enjoying it, so. What about you? What are you up to today? You have a beef against DSM with some of their classifications. Haha, oh crap, now you unleashed my psychology rant. I have a huge problem with like the whole conceptualization of disorders as we have them, period. I feel like a lot of things we have into this like really like kind of supposedly neat and tidy system where it's like, this is a disorder and it includes all these separate symptoms, and then you have all these things, you have the thing or whatever. But then like there's so many things where it's like, actually you just have a bunch of symptoms, and then, you know, some of these symptoms might be more like this and some of them might be more like this and some of them might be more like this, and it's like, I just feel like we're kind of, our understanding of how to deal with these things and how to classify them, I think it is changing and evolving, and I think it needs to change and evolve, because I don't think just being like, you have depression and so here's the treatments for depression really functions in a world where it's like, well, it's a little bit like depression, but it's a little bit like anxiety, it's a little bit like X, Y, and Z, and it's like, well, actually maybe let's just figure out what treatments might work for you without having to put a label on it, right? Like, here's the symptoms you have, so what can we do to help those symptoms, right? Especially since we have so much more understanding of the brain chemistry now too, right? Whereas so many of these problems have like a brain chemistry component. It's like, well, we can identify that this is like low in your brain or high in your brain. Like, let's focus on that. And then let's also deal with like the talk therapy. Like, here's what are, you know, the issues you have dealt with, the traumas you've had. Like, I don't feel like the labeling is super functional moving forward. I feel like it was really helpful, and I think for some people it always will be. Like, for some people it will be very clear. It's like, you have this one thing that needs to be dealt with. But I think for a lot of our modern problems, having a label like, oh, you just have anxiety, I don't think it's the best way to do it anymore. Your PTSD doesn't come with depression, usually paranoia, which means you're likely to shoot first and ask questions later. Yeah, paranoia is, oh my god, I have another friend who's dealing with like paranoia right now, and paranoia is also the worst thing because it's so hard to talk to someone who's like having real paranoia, like, I don't know what it's called, but like when it escalates, like when it's like, you know, at first it's just a couple things, and then like those things get weirder and those things get weirder and those things get more common, and then it's like, oh my god, like, how do I... So if anyone has any resources on dealing with paranoia, I would also appreciate those, because that is something I'm also dealing with, and it's not something I've dealt with before, and I'm really struggling with how to communicate with this person and how to, like, I don't know, is talk them down the right word? Like, how to like bring them back to reality and be like, let's think about this. Would this make sense? Like, why would this be happening? Like, why would that person do... And mostly it's interpersonal stuff. It's like, this person hates me and they're doing something to me or intentionally. And it's like, probably they didn't realize you would be hurt by this at all, because probably you never mentioned it to them. And yeah, maybe there isn't a grand plan to like be mean to you and ruin your life. Get you fired and lose all your friends, and maybe actually everything is fine, just let's relax. But I don't know how to say that without like, and have it get through, because I get that you can't just say that. If you're depressed, social media can make it worse. Yeah, especially if you don't, like, there's different ways to use social media, and I feel like that's something they are teaching in schools now, is like how to appropriately use these tools. So like, if you're depressed, here's what to do and here's what not to do. Like, if you're anxious, here's what to do and what not to do on social media, because there's some things you could do that could make you feel better, and there's a lot of things you could do that will make you feel way worse. It's like, they're just tools. Let's learn how to use them for the best thing. Book club, what are we reading? I think I've changed the book I'm going to review tonight. I think it's going to be Oryx and Crake by Margaret Atwood. Yeah, because it will just keep showing you sad reels. Exactly. The more you watch stuff, even if you don't click like on things, these apps' algorithms are so sophisticated now, just like based on the amount of time you spend watching stuff, it will show you more of that. If you click it, if you touch it, if you hover over it for too long. Who did you shoot? Everyone in my head. Nothing, it's a pretty average day for you, Pika Pika. You have an issue with grouping disorders under an umbrella term. Yes, right? And you have like, that's the biggest thing. Like you can have like two sides of the same disorder that are like two completely separate sets of symptoms. And it's like, why are these two things even considered the same thing? Like they don't behave the same. It's not from the same cause. It's not like there's no relation between these two people except you've grouped them under one term. Agreed. Now you get a lot of deep fakes, false news, influencers, and a steamer trunk load of garbage in, garbage out flowing through the developmental processes. And it should redefine operant conditioning or Bodo doll? I don't know what that is. Baby Albert swing moments? Tell me what those are. I don't know what those are. Yeah, talk, CBT, DBT, and then tailored to the person. Yes, right. Well, I mean, and that's what we were just saying earlier, right? Like, I've been to a few therapists, but, like, none of them have worked out. And it's like, they can have all the right techniques in the world. If you can't talk to them, if you can't connect with them, it doesn't matter. It's like that whole, like, feeling like someone's actually listening and understanding you is worth so much more than, you know, obviously the techniques help and are important, but, like, once you've found a technique you like, you just gotta find the person you connect with, who you trust. Yeah, working on the root, not just the symptoms. Now, even though you're a U.S. veteran, you don't own any firearms, and you're proud of that because you've never been in a serious situation that couldn't be resolved without weapons. That's wonderful. What a refreshing perspective to hear from a U.S. veteran. So that's very interesting to hear. So yeah, I'm proud of you. That's amazing. That's excellent. Yeah. And also, like, I feel like so many people who are, like, so strong about firearms, like, it comes back to this living in fear thing. It's like, I need my gun because I need to protect and I need to fight and I need to, like, defend against all of this danger and harm that's coming my way and towards my family. And it's like, okay, you're living in a lot of fear right now. Like, can we dial that back? Like, do we need to be that afraid of everything all the time that we need a gun? And to be fair, like, depending on where you live in America, maybe, but, like, maybe if everyone didn't think that way, it wouldn't be true. Okay, let's switch over to book club. I got one more bite of food. Let me eat it. I'm just switching over to the book club scene, but I have to switch the camera lighting conditions because they're not set up properly. That one's fine. There we go. Hey, Delos Wind. What song is this? This is something, some AI generated song, I think. No, what is this one? This is some copyright free song called Relaxing Music with Ocean Waves, Beautiful Piano, Sleep Music, Stress Relieving. It is probably from YouTube. Okay, so I was saying earlier, I kind of switched the book I'm going to review this month because the book I was going to review was One Thing, but I didn't finish it because I didn't finish it in time, and then my library return got sent back to the library, and I haven't gotten it back yet. So it's on like a 6-week wait still. So we're going to do another book that I read this month was a fiction book called Oryx and Crake by Margaret Atwood. And it was quite good. It It was also heavy. It was heavy as hell, but I guess I'm gonna talk about it, so I will stop summarizing it now. There we go, book club. Let's make that. Oh no, undo. There we go. That's a bit better. You're proud because mostly every fellow vet you know owns firearms because they don't feel safe. Yeah. Being a combat vet, you don't find it necessary to be armed in a normal civilized community. That's really good, right? Like that kind of understanding that the situations you're trained for and the situations that would be necessary in aren't the situations you are gonna find yourself in. Sorry, I have so many alarms set in my life right now. I have like an alarm every hour because my obviously ADD, untreated ADD is like my time management is fucked. And also I've been trying to check my temperature regularly for circadian, but I'm not too worried about that right now because I've got a pretty good handle on it right now. As I was saying earlier, my low point in my temperature is like 8 a.m. instead of 4 a.m. Like the average person, and that's why I go to bed late and wake up late. Reminds you of something from a game or an anime. Yeah, it has that kind of like video game feel to it. That kind of like chill, like, I don't know, like sitting outside in the dark kind of video game background music. Biggest downside of Twitch is the fact that you can't listen to what you want anymore. Right? Oh my god. I like... the whole like copyright-free music thing is just like, it drives me nuts. But I'm so happy. The website I'm using right now is Moobert. Mostly this one's from YouTube. And I have not gotten a single one of those annoying copyright things. Actually, no, I think I did have one. I think I had one track that got me copyright things, but most of the Moobert tracks do not get me the copyright annoying things that you then have to like turn off because it's not the song it thinks it is. The Canadian author, exactly right. I don't think I even wrote down notes on this book because I wasn't expecting to do it for book club, because I was expecting to do the book I said I was going to do for book club. Did I write down any notes on this book? I don't think I did. I have notes on Achilles already, but I haven't finished that one. I'm only halfway through, so we won't do that one either. Achilles is next month, Song of Achilles. Read that book because it's so good. The author's amazing. That one I have good things to say about already, but I won't. Okay, I'm going to go grab the book though, just because I have this one is the reason I read this book this month is because I have a physical paperback of it, because it was one of the books I grabbed right before I left Canada just to shove like in my bag as like plain reading material. And then I, went, oh, I guess I could read that because I was so trying to not do work this week, like I said earlier. So I read this book, and it was... Yes, this book is really good. This book is really heavy. It's a post-apocalyptic dystopia, and pretty much all the characters are fucking awful. So I've looked through at a bunch of reviews from this book, and there's a lot of people who are like, I fucking hated that book. I couldn't get through it. It was so awful. And like, there's a bunch of like content in this book, and I guess I'll talk about it. That's really distasteful. Like, there's quite a bit of distasteful content in this book. So if you don't want to hear about that, maybe this review is not the stream to watch. But it's good. It's good overall, and it's like, it's not there for its own sake. It's there to kind of indicate how this world has fucked up and how these characters aren't really good people. So it serves its purpose, but yeah, the book is heavy, and the book has a lot of content that a lot of people won't like reading.
So I'll go through like a summary. It's also a little bit avant-garde because it kind of jumps around a bit. It starts with the main character who you follow throughout the book, but it jumps around in time. So it goes through kind of his current life in this, like, basically living as like maybe the last human being on the planet, kind of on his own, trying to survive in the ruins. And then it jumps back, to his childhood growing up and kind of his friendship with this guy who basically causes the problem, and how they live as teenagers and adults, and how they get from a highly kind of technologically fucked up, but like, believably so society to like a complete disaster state where mostly everyone's dead. And yeah, so it jumps around in time, it jumps around all of that. There's also one character, I was actually really surprised, okay, because Margaret Atwood, and I heard someone review it this way, in that Handmaid's Tale was really good for like kind of the female psyche, like the view and representation, and that this book was more about the male psyche and representation in its good and bad forms. Like there's a lot of fucked up shit in this book that the male characters do, and then like from the basics, things like kind of like the porn they watch, and like this is like this dystopic future, so like basically anything is available up to and including like, I'm trying not to say anything that's gonna get my channel fucking fucked up, but like every terrible thing you could think of in porn or in internet videos, like they just watch because it's just available to them, because the world is really garbage. And then like in addition to that, kind of all the other stuff, things like the society is super stratified. They are children of like these scientists who work for these kind of like global city-state corporations, right? Where it's like it's a company city and you live in the company city and you don't go out into the real world because that's where all the poor people are and they're a disaster zone, right? You stay in your happy little company city and you work for us. And if you switch companies, you go to that company city. You don't go out into like the streets. You stay in your little clustered enclave. And so things like that. And they grew up, in one of the wealthier parts, but there's other characters who did not. And so you kind of see both sides of it. And then you also see how these people are literally exploiting those other characters. And they don't even like, they never really even come to terms with it. Like it doesn't even, it gets brought up, but in that kind of like savior way where it's like, oh, let me help you, like let me fix this for you, and it's like you were the problem, but the character doesn't say that because it's a really interesting character, the female character, and it's like you were actually part of this issue, like the reason these things happen to me is because of you and people like you. But the character's really interesting because she doesn't want to be this victim of these guys, so she doesn't want to talk about kind of the stuff that's happened to her, which is a very interesting way to write the character. Because she kind of will do things like, she'll say, it was really interesting because she'll say things like, oh, you're so funny, like, why do you want to talk about that kind of stuff? Like, that's in the past, like, let's move on. When the characters are kind of trying to be like, like, this is horrible, like, I want to, hunt down the people who did this to you, and, like, all this sort of stuff. And it's like, haha, that's in the past, why do you want to talk about that kind of line of response? And I'm like, this is a really interesting character, kind of, and obviously, like, playing off the trauma, but in a way where it's like refusal to be that victim just so this guy can have his savior complex activated. And it's like, no, I'm not giving that to you. I just thought it was really interesting because you can read it in the opposite way too, where it's like you have this character who's like seemingly unfazed by this terrible stuff that's happened to them, and it's like, well, that's probably not the case, so what else is more likely here? And it's like, okay, like, why, what benefit to her is it to deny kind of that this stuff had an impact on her? And it's like, yeah, she doesn't want to be, she doesn't want that to be the reason someone loves or cares about her, right? The dystopian future will happen when things get hard enough that people decide to have less or no children. Do you find male or female actors
is that what the word is? Better capture the essence of female heroines protagonists. Oh, authors. Okay, authors.
That's a really good question. I find either can do it really well. I find a lot of the time both do it really poorly because authors write what they read. And what we read in our culture is a lot of material that has well-written male characters and terribly written female characters, if at all. Like, there's a lot of great material with well-written female characters, but statistically, in the pile of literature from, eternity, from classics to now, the majority of the stuff out there, and especially the majority of the stuff considered classics, considered literature, considered, benchmarks, feature male protagonists, well-written male characters, and terribly written female characters. And I think most authors, male or female, fall into writing what they know, what they read, which is exactly that, even when they're trying to do the opposite. And then, of course, there are exceptions. Like I said, there's male and female exceptions who can break away from that and write really good female characters. And I think it's becoming far more common now, which is fucking wonderful. Because I kind of remember there was this point in my life where I consciously thought to myself, why are all the characters I care about male? Why don't I like any female characters, or not very many, in the media I watch or the media I read or, the movies and TV and books that I consume. And I just kind of had to take a step back and be like, wait a minute. It's not because I don't like the female characters. It's because the female characters I'm being presented with are not well made. They're not well crafted. They're not well, maybe the actor's doing their best or the writer's doing their best, but the material's not there. And it's just, there's a reason those characters aren't resonating with me or other people. And it's because it's really hard to write something that you're not seeing modeled for you in your media, in your pop culture, in your culture as a whole. And I kind of I felt better and worse kind of coming to that realization for myself and being like, oh, okay, so number one, I need to start actively looking out for things that do feature solid female characterization. And also remember that the reason these characters are great, male characters are great, is because that's how we do it. That's how we know how to do it. And I think I just posted in the Discord the other day a link about blind casting, and I am such a huge fan of gender and race blind casting. Obviously there's some situations where that doesn't make sense, where maybe the character is pregnant, or the character it's about their race or something, right? There's some situations where that doesn't work. But overall, most roles should be cast gender and race blind, 100%. I'm a huge fan of that because, again, there are so many roles that were written for men or scripted or written in a book or whatever, and so many fewer ones for women and people of color. I just don't think it makes sense to hold ourselves to those original concepts for no reason when the role is not about that, when the role is about a human experience. Kind of getting off base a bit here, I guess, but I actually am pretty strong feelings on that. But no, actually the reason this came up is because in this book, and again, I don't think I said it exactly, but oh no, I did. Okay, so someone was saying that Handmaid's Tale really resonated with them as the female point of view, and this one resonated as the male kind of experience in all of itsness. We all suffer from that disability at some point. I like rounded characters with their flaws, but also pivotal moments where they make the important choice to do the right or the hard thing. And exactly, right? That's what makes it a story, right? We see someone overcome and grow and learn and change. Like, a tragedy is fun sometimes, but most of the stories people want to read involve the character overcoming. Switch to your iPhone, because the stream was nearly a full minute. I hate it when it does that, and you're like, how do I switch without losing that minute? Because you don't want to, like, miss the minute of talking or whatever. Gender bent male roles can be done very well. Yes, exactly, right? It can go in both directions. It can go really well. So I'm fully in support of more of that going forward, and I think we're going to start to see it. Okay, so on the book, so I covered the general... I'm just so hesitant to, like, recommend this book, because it is, like... It's also, like, not a happy book. Like, it doesn't end on a positive note. It kind of ends on a, like, a potentially positive note, but, like, it's a dystopia. Like, it's kind of just thingamajig. But I do recommend it because it's very interesting ideas and stuff. Some of the stuff I feel... Oh my god, okay, I haven't talked about the best part. Okay. The funniest part about this book is that it was written in 2003, and it's set in the future. Like, not like super future, but the future. But, like, it just drives me, it's so weird to me because it's 2003, like, it's not that long ago, but the technology is not extrapolated correctly at all. So, and I'll go over the examples. For instance, the character goes to his library at university and looks up videos on CD-ROMs. The character plays DVDs in their house. What are some of the other ones? There's some really good ones. Someone has a fax machine in their office. Like, it's just like, all of the technology is so not properly advanced in the right way. Like, everything was like hard media, and I'm just like, oh my god, what are we doing here? Like, 2003 couldn't predict that we were moving away from hard media. But I mean, I get, like, what year did YouTube come out? I feel like that was kind of like the zone of YouTube. And so, like, yeah, I guess we just hadn't quite figured that out yet. But it was just wild. And then, in complete contrast to that, there's one moment in the book where the main character's, like, kind of an artist, where she talks about the main character creating a video project for school where he takes, you know, a play and then recasts it with these actors and then puts it into a completely separate genre and then, you know, animates it in the style of, you know, X famous artist. And I'm like, oh, that's right on. That we can do that. Like, that's AI up and down. Like, we are doing that exact thing right now. So that was very prescient because we could not do anything like that in 2003. And I'm like, oh, you got that one. That one you got perfect. Like, yes, fuck. And, like, I'm sure at the time it felt, like, ridiculous to be like, and then it's animated too, and this artistic style, like, just, like, on top of thing. And it's like, no, we can do all of that. And we're going to be... By the time this future world existed, we would be able to do this perfectly. So yeah, I was just like, oh, you called that one. You nailed that one. Take an iconic role like Han Solo or Aragorn and make them a strong female character. Much better character, in my opinion. Much better character than all the female characters, for sure. Right? Like, and we've seen this a couple times. There's been a couple movies come out. Trying to think what some of them were. Salt is one of them. That was originally written for Tom Cruise, I think. But there's a couple other ones. And then was played by Angelina Jolie. Where, like, what's the most famous one? Ripley. Alien. Right? Written for a guy, originally. And then it's like, hey, guess what? Actually, you don't need to rewrite the character to be female. If it's a well-written character, it's good to go. Like, sure, you have to adjust a couple things, but, like, less than you think. Ugh. This one is not, like, this one is dystopian in the sense that it's about to fall. So it's still at the peak of its technology. Because this, like I said, it jumps back and forth in time. So when he's, like, living in the woods by himself, everything's falling and there's no, you know, like, the electricity is not really running, so he's not looking up CD-ROMs. But when he's in his young adulthood, in his teenagerhood, this is the peak of the civilization. So, fax machine? Oh, the other thing is the characters email each other. Like, the young college kids are communicating with each other by email. And I'm like, really? We couldn't foresee video chat? You couldn't foresee video chat or, like, text messaging? I feel like text messaging existed in 2003. But anyways, they're emailing each other.
Yeah, right.
Nah. Okay, so what else was really I'm trying to think of one of the most interesting parts of this book that would make someone want to read it. Okay, so I'll go over the basic, like, the plot elements. Basically, it's a future society where, like, gene editing and, like, gene control is very prominent. So, like, it starts with, like, the characters, their parents work for these corporations that are making, like, one of the animals they make is, like, a pig that grows human organs. Like, not that far-fetched. We kind of have this kind of thing, right? Is that music? Oh my goodness, it's a weird noise. So, like, pigs that grow human organs, right? And then by the end of the book, those pigs are, like, hunting down the main character, right? Because pigs. So good work on that one. But other things, you know, like, they grow, like, a chicken that's basically just grows, like, multiple chicken breasts and isn't even a chicken. It's more like a bush kind of thing, right? And, like, tons of other stuff like that. Things that are more for, like, humans. Like, hey, we're growing, you know, all this stuff to make you look younger and more beautiful and more, you know, like, keep all your hair and, you know, lose weight and all that kind of stuff. And, like, all that kind of, and here's how to, you know, have, like, your perfect baby and you can, you know, adjust this, that, and the other thing and these kind of things. And that's of course where the plot comes in. When they introduce that, it kind of, everything goes to shit. And, like, diseases and stuff. And so, like, one of the things about, like, stay in your city, your special protected city, because out there's diseases and, you know, like, people are spreading viruses trying to kill everyone and stuff, right? And so obviously that feels prescient coming right out of COVID. But yeah, they go through that kind of stuff. They also go through just sort of all sorts of products, like products that are, you know, to sell people or entertain people, or just, like, you know, the kind of stuff that's, like, the extrapolation from what people might want. Yeah, we didn't have smartphones. I think iPhone came out, well, we had smartphones, but they were like Blackberries. iPhone came out, like, after 2003 for sure. I think that was, like, 2006 or something. But we had, like, flip phones with text messaging. You know what I mean? Remember T9? I mean, I don't remember T9. Definitely not. Where was I? So, yeah, you have all these, like, companies that are producing products to sell to the masses to make money, and then of course there's, like, the whole dystopic side of it, where these companies are also producing the problems, you know, like, producing things that create more problems in order to sell them more solutions. So it starts getting that kind of way about it. And then the main character's, like, mother runs off and, you know, like, joins a resistance movement, and then that's a huge problem because she's, like, now, like, an enemy of this city-state. And then, like, the other main characters, like, one of his parents, I think his father, gets, like, pushed off a bridge, like, falls off a bridge, whoopsie, like, because he learned something he shouldn't have at the company. And so things like that, you start getting kind of those signs of problems. And yeah, the main character, I'm trying to think how to phrase this because I found this really interesting. Basically, the main character is labeled, like, is textually written as being really smart, not for, like, these, you know, elite city-states where, like, his parents and everyone else who lives in these corporations, who works for these corporations, like, you know, hyper intelligent, like, very smart, smartest of the smartest, super intelligent, and, you know, their kids go to the schools that are super intelligent and blah blah blah, and they're all, like, collected. And it is possible for people from the regular areas to get, like, scholarships and go to these schools too. They do mention that at some point, but for the most part, it's her, you know, it's this family cycle, right? You're smart, you work in this company, so your kids get to work in this company whether they're really smart or not. But this main character is so stupid. He ends up, like, at, like, one of the worst schools. But they keep saying in the book that he's actually would be pretty smart compared to the whole general population, like, of, you know, not just these hyper intelligent companies, but, like, compared to the whole population, he'd be pretty smart. But then they show his life in the, like, the disaster state, and he's so stupid he doesn't learn to like hunt or fish. Like, it doesn't say how long he's there for, but it's clearly long enough that he starts running out of pilfered food from like the surrounding town. And this character's like starving to death at the beginning of the book because he hasn't figured out how to fish. And there's some other characters, and I'm about to get to them in a minute because they're not really humans. But they help him sometimes by giving him a fish. And like, they can catch fish. Why have you not learned how to fish, or like how to forage for berries, or like how to grow a garden, or like literally fucking anything? Like, you're stupider than you think you are. Like, what is this? And I guess the nicer way to think about that is that he's in trauma, right? Like, he's just seen everyone he knows die, and potentially everyone he thinks in the world die. And so, like, you can kind of play that off as, like, guilt, like, I don't deserve to eat, or I don't deserve to, you know, learn how to do this, or I shouldn't, like, what's the point? Or there's tons of ways you can play that in a more generous light. But for me, it was just so funny, because I'm like, you are literally gonna starve to death, but you haven't bothered to go, like, try to catch a fish. Oh, stupid. And like, his shelter is bad too. Like, his shelter is like terrible. Like, at one point he has a tent and then he moves into a tree, and it's like everything about this lifestyle is just like a disaster. And it's like, benefit of the doubt here is that you're like hyper traumatized, which is not unreasonable, but holy shit, your life is bad and you're living it bad. Like, you could be living much better than this if you just tried to learn anything. Oh. Yeah, there could be fear behind that as well, right? Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of like, that's the more generous way of looking at it too, is that like, he's, you know, like, scared to go too far away from his camp because like he doesn't want to get eaten by the pigs. And like the wolves, and like they've got wolvogs, which is like, you know, wolf dogs, so they look cute like dogs, but they're vicious like wolves. And like the pigs are obviously bigger and nastier than normal pigs, and you know, that kind of stuff, right? So like, yeah, it's like you can read a little bit of that into it, but also, like I said, there's other characters who do manage to successfully catch fish. I guess I better get to those other characters now. So, the main character's best friend is the one who causes the whole problem. He's kind of one of those too smart to function types, kind of those god complex types. And they built that up pretty realistically, like, especially because we see the two boys go through like their, you know, school and college years together, like kind of not together because they're at different colleges, but their school years together, and then they're still friends. And so we kind of see how this character goes from being like, you know, normal smart kid to like kind of having, not a lot of bad stuff happens with this character because he's, you know, goes to the good school and stuff, but you know, he does lose his dad and some other things, but obviously develops a god complex pretty early on, and then yeah, ends up producing all of these products, like for instance a new human race, that's kind of, he would say perfected, right? Like stripped back to like the essence of, you know, a human that doesn't fight, that doesn't have sexual violence, that doesn't like argue, that doesn't have property. You know, they eat just like plants and vegetables, and you know, they get all their energy from that. So they're super like non-damaging to the environment. They eat grass basically. Like they don't need clothes because they're perfectly adapted to fit in the current climate, which is hotter than current. And they, you know, they don't need shelters because they just sleep outside, and they don't need all this stuff. They don't build things and destroy things. They don't, you know, hoard things, and they, you know, they don't do anything of the bad stuff, right? They also don't do anything, right? Like he basically made a human race that's not human anymore. Like they don't do art, they don't do philosophy, they don't do thinking, they have language, but like it's, everything about them is very simple. Like they're kind of designed to not have religion or anything like this, or any like strong philosophical kind of thoughts. And it's like, okay, so what is the difference between this and any other animal? Like you kind of created an animal that can talk, like what's the point? Oh, actually, that's really interesting. I didn't think about it until right in this moment, but there's kind of a recurring little motif of this parrot viewed on CD-ROM video from like, I think it's a real parrot actually, I think it's in the author's notes, of like a parrot who was a research subject of like parrot talking and parrot language. And yeah, that actually comes up a couple times, kind of as a joke, but I think that actually is pretty relevant now that I feel like there's something there. I feel like there's some relevance there to that talking parrot versus these talking humans that in other respects might as well just be parrots because they're not doing anything with their language. So yeah, that's the end world, is that, and then of course obviously the god complex character also releases a virus to kill all the humans, right? And that's how we get, so spoiler alert, sorry, I feel like this should be obvious by now. Like this is a dystopia, everyone's dead. And it's pretty clear pretty early on that Craig is the god complex character. He caused it, so it's not that big of a spoiler. But they do confirm it at the end, near the end. Oryx is the other character who is the female character who, like I said, kind of grew up in a developing country kind of thing and got brought here through human trafficking here to America. It's not really stated, but I think it's either heavily implied or otherwise like there might be some locations referenced that are America in the book. It's obviously an America-like place. That she got brought. Oh yeah, because she gets brought to like San Diego or something. So yeah, it's definitely America. I knew there was something there. But anyway, so that's her character and how she gets to know them. But she's very smart as well. So she ends up working for the same company that Craig, the God Complex character, is working for. And she actually is kind of the one who works with these new humans and kind of is teaching them, you know, how to function and be alive because they don't have parents, obviously. And she's obviously the love interest of both Craig and the main character, whose name is, he's referenced most frequently in the book as Snowman, but he's also referenced as Jimmy, his real name. Oryx and Craig pretty much only have those names. They have real names, but they're not used in the book, really. If at all. I don't know if Oryx even has a real name. But yeah, really interesting book. I really enjoyed it. I read it quite quickly in a couple of days because I just kind of wanted to see, I wanted to get through it, and it was kind of like morbidly fascinating. Like I said, there's a lot of like fucked up shit that happens in this book. Like the characters say things that are, you know, God complex, terrible things, and even the main character, says and does weird, terrible things. I'm trying to think what else is relevant to mention. Oh, okay. This is the quote I highlighted in this book because I just thought it was really, I thought it was a really good piece of writing. So I'll read it out. Just good writing by Margaret Atwood. How did this happen? Their descendants will ask, stumbling upon the evidence, the ruins, the ruinous evidence. Who made these things? Who lived in them? Who destroyed them? The Taj Mahal, the Louvre, the pyramids, the Empire State Building. Stuff he's seen in TV and old books on postcards. Imagine coming upon them 3D, life-size, with no preparation. You'd be freaked. You'd run away, and after that, you'd need an explanation. At first, they'll say giants are gods, but sooner or later, they'll want to know the truth. Like him, they have the curious monkey brain. Perhaps they'll say, those things are not real. They're phantasmagoria. They were made by dreams, and now that no one is dreaming them any longer, they are crumbling away. I just thought that was really good. So obviously that's the main character talking about the new kind of human race, right? Like how would they respond if they saw these crumbling structures of humanity's previous incarnation? But I loved that. These things aren't real. They were made by dreams, and since no one is dreaming them any longer, they're crumbling away. I just like the poetry of that. What else was relevant in this book? It's the first of a trilogy. I started reading the second book, but I haven't finished it yet because I had to start reading Achilles before it gets sent back to the library because I've only got 5 days left on it. I'm only halfway through. But I'm going to read the second one when I'm done this because I've seen a bunch of reviews that said they like the second one better, and then a bunch of reviews that said they like the first one better, and I kind of have a feeling I'm going to be one of the people who likes the first one better, just because it's so much what it is. Like, it doesn't apologize for itself, it's just fucked up, and it makes its point. Whereas the second one this one's all about the male characters. The second one goes into a bunch of other characters. I think it's set concurrently with this one, like, it doesn't go past where this one stops. Like I said, kind of on a cliffhanger. But it covers some other characters who are, many of them female, and so kind of like giving them more of a nuance, more of a broader perspective to the story. And I can see how a lot of people would like that better, because it's going to be less fucked up. But I can also see how this one could be preferred, and again, I haven't finished the second one yet, could be preferred just because it is very much what it is. It's very pure in its like intent and its point, and it gets it across. So I enjoyed reading it because it's also just really interesting to go through kind of all of her visions of the future. And like I said, a lot of them felt kind of already outdated, but then a lot of them didn't. And then a lot of them were things that I personally don't think the future is going towards. Like, for instance, they had a lot of like food scarcity. So like real food, like real cheese or real cow was like so rare that it was like, you know, a delicacy and this kind of stuff. But then all of this other stuff, whereas I think we're gonna, I guess it's kind of nuanced. I don't think that's where we're headed. I think we're headed towards more of a society at large will want to eat those things less because the alternatives will be just as good and healthier for you, right? Because their alternatives are all kind of not healthy for you. They're kind of like worse for you in this world. But I think our alternatives that we're making are healthier. And also, like, they had a lot of this kind of like animal grown meat and parts and stuff. Whereas like the biggest thing that we have developed probably, you know, in the last 20 years is it existed before then, but it wasn't popularized, is lab grown stuff that doesn't involve an animal at all. Like, it doesn't involve an animal with a nervous system or bones or a shape or anything. It's just like we just literally grow what we need in a petri dish, and then nothing is harmed, right? There's no animal running around being hurt, being killed, being anything, right? It's just tissue in a dish. And I think that's kind of where we're going more than what she mentions in this one, what she predicts. Not predicts, I mean, this is not a prediction, this is a warning. But that's what I would say. Gonna get your day started and put the kid down for the nap. It was fun hanging out. Have a good day. Have an excellent time. Thank you for hanging out. Do you have anything else to say about this one? If there are any questions, let me know. Yeah, the other thing about the main character is that, like I said, like, his mother kind of runs away when he's young. He doesn't know if she's alive or dead. And the government keeps harping on him about, like, have you heard from your mother? Do you know where she is? What do you know about her? And that kind of stuff. And so, like, there's a lot of trauma there that he kind of deals with his whole life. And you can see it in his relationships with women, because most of his relationships with women are kind of really fucked up relationships from the start, where he's kind of just, like, refusing to be in a real relationship, but he kind of, like, lets it linger until they break it off, kind of those kind of relationships. And yeah, the friendship between the two boys is very interesting too, because it feels very natural, like it feels really real, like the way she writes about kind of how they hang out and what they do and what they talk about. I really like the way she wrote that. Also, just some really interesting ideas, like for the new humans, kind of what they're like and what is of interest to them. Yeah, I think that's about it. I didn't actually. The other thing I would say is that I didn't really get the final plot point. Like, I didn't get it in universe. I understood it from an authorial standpoint, like from the book's point of view, what the plot function was. But the way the virus is spread is in this, there's 2 points to this, and one of them they call out. So one of them is that, you know, he's made this kind of race of like next generation of humanity, and then the main character even comments like, like eating grass and being completely like having no ideas of your own is not what most parents are looking for in a kid. And the main character, the villain character, not really a villain, but is kind of goes like, yeah, we know that. These are just kind of to show how far we could take it. Like what the, you know, how much we can do with this technology. It's not, these are just show models. They're not what people actually buy, you know, when they're trying to shop for their kid. And I'm like, okay, thank you for calling that out. Because yeah, like this makes no sense. Like this is not the kid parents want, right? Like they want, you know, a smart kid who's going to be just like them. And, you know, the parents who are buying in this book, you know, the heads of these corporations and scientists and that kind of stuff. And so it's like they did call that one out. But the other part that kind of felt contrived to me or like forced was that the way they spread the virus was in this pill that was supposed to, it was also like a double fake out, because the pill was supposed to be like a helpful pill to like do a bunch of stuff and make you, you know, feel better, live longer, you know, eat health, lose weight, kind of, it was supposed to do a bunch of stuff, right? It was also supposed to be, like an antiviral for STIs. And then the secret effect was that it was supposed to be a sterilizing agent as well. Like it was supposed to sterilize anyone who took this pill, you know, ostensibly to use it to, you know, have disease-free sex and all this other stuff it does. But it didn't make sense to me that they would have that secret plot mentioned in the book, when the real secret was that it was the virus that's going to wipe out humanity. Like, why did you have 2 secret things going on with this pill? I didn't get why there was 2 of them. Because the second one never came to fruition because the people were all dead. It wasn't like they were going to have babies anyways, they died. It just felt like unnecessary to me. I think that's everything. Anyways, good book, well written. Some flaws, but like it's very much committed to what it is, and I think it was worth reading. However, with the caveat that if you don't like some of those touchier topics I've mentioned, they're quite prominent, and you will probably find the whole book so distasteful that it's not worth reading. So if you can handle kind of those distasteful subjects, they're not glorified, but they're very present in a kind of like a just accepted way. And so keep that in mind if you're going to read it. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed it. I'm going to read this. I'm halfway through the second one. I don't know, I'm a little bit way through the second one already. And I'm going to finish it. And then there's a third one as well. So I'll get that one shot too. They might be on book club in a couple months. Next month's book club, is going to be The Song of Achilles, which is, oh my god, okay, I want to like gush about it a little bit already. I'm super pleased with it. I read Madeline Miller's previous book, Circe, a couple months ago for book club, and I loved it. It was adorable. This is another thing too. Oh my god, this is the exact same thing. So Circe was again about the female perspective, and Achilles and Song of Achilles is about the male perspective. So once again, an author who writes both very well. And this is me reading from reviews. So I agree that she wrote the feminine perspective very well in Circe, and reviews have said that she wrote the male perspective very well in Achilles. And it's from the perspective of Patroclus, who's Achilles' friend, kind of historical, kind of closest person, lover, etc., right? Which is good because it gives it kind of a perspective that's not just like perfect Achilles, right? Good thing to do in a book. But yeah, it's phenomenal. I'm not going to talk about it too much tonight because I am going to talk about it next month. I just got to I got past the part a little while ago, but I recently got to the part where Odysseus shows up, and I just thought it was so funny because I'm probably going to repeat this next month, but I just thought it was so perfect because we already know how she writes Odysseus, because Odysseus is crafty and smart, and she writes his craftiness really well. Like, she's good at writing that, and without making him like an annoying jerk. Like she writes him in a very personable way and a very realistic way. And it's just so funny because at one point, poor Patroclus thinks he's tricking Ulysses, and he very quickly realizes that Ulysses knew everything the whole time, and he did not trick him even a little bit. And it's just really cute the way it kind of pulls off and gets revealed, and it's just like, yeah, get in here, Patroclus, we know it's you. It was just perfectly written. So anyways, complete opposite of this book. Achilles and Patroclus is just kind of like, there's some heavy stuff in there, but in the sense that like Greek classics have like death and war and stuff in them, like you know what you're getting into. It's light and it's fun and it's beautiful and it's well written and it's very, very thoroughly enjoyable. So if you haven't read Song of Achilles yet, read it over the next month because it will be book club next month. And goddamn, it's so good. And then go read Circe if you haven't read Circe, because Circe is still one of my favorite books of the last couple of years. Like, peak, pinnacle, prime, excellent. Song of Achilles, powerful, inventive, passionate, and beautifully written. Yeah, and so like all the things I liked about Circe, like the way she kind of makes Greek mythology her own and like fleshes it out and really gives it depth where there isn't, right? Because a lot of Greek mythology and these epics, these are very sparse on the ground, right? Like they kind of like, they talk about what happened, but it's not detailed. A lot of times characters do weird shit for no reason, because in a lot of historical literature, characters didn't have to fucking make sense. They could just do whatever they wanted in order to make plot progress, and no one commented and said, that character's not believable. So as a modern writer, when you see a character who in the historical epic does something batshit insane, you're like, why would anyone do that? You get to flesh out and like write the whole backstory on why they did that, and she's a master at that. So I'm very pleased with that. And she did it in Circe perfectly, and she's doing it again in Achilles. So go give it a read for next month and join us for book club, which will probably be on the first Monday of the month, if I don't not do that again. But here we are on the second Monday of the month, so we got it in. Writing club will be next Monday. I've written because I'm hating my job right now, as you can tell, I've been in a reading mood and a writing mood, because when I hate my job, that's what I want to do, distract myself, in a TV watching mood, distract myself from my job by media, books, writing, movies, TV. So that's all I've been doing lately is media. So I've read a lot of things and I've written a lot of things. So writing club next Monday, yay! Book club next first Monday, yay! It's gonna be good. I'm going to do art club this week. I'm going to do design club this week. I'm going to do fashion design. I'm going to do more planner design. I want to get a planner. I actually did everything I could do today because I'm still waiting for the KDP page to load. Did it load? No, it's still uploading. I hate that website. I don't know why uploading the PDF, like the full PDF, the 76-page PDF was faster than this. Like, this is stupid. Maybe it just saved in too high a quality on Canva. Maybe I need to, load. But I don't want to lower the quality. That's the cover page of the book. I want it high quality. I want it to load. Anyways, I'm getting distracted. I'm gonna probably, let's maybe see if there's someone to rate, I guess. Let me know if anyone else is reading anything good. If you finished any good books, if you have any books of all time that you'd recommend, if you have any books that are similar to these or completely different, what your favorite dystopia book is. Who was I just talking to who was like, I'm finally reading 1984, and I'm like, oh, that's such a good one. They're like, yeah, I've read Animal Farm before, but I hadn't read 1984, and I'm like, they're completely different, but both so worth reading. But yeah, 1984 is so much. I feel like this is debatable. I find 1984 heavier than Animal Farm because I feel like the nature of being an animal-based parody makes it lighter, whereas 1984, you can't get away from it. It's just happening, and it's exactly what is on what's happening. But yeah, I would definitely recommend those if you haven't read either of those. They both hold up phenomenally. Plus, 1984 is just referenced everywhere. So is Animal Farm, but 1984, I feel like, is better. Yeah, also, if you liked the idea of this book, this kind of dystopia with
kind of a new human race and maybe some survivors trying to figure out what happened and maybe solve humanity. My recommendation would be but you don't like the things I negatively commented on this book, or not even negatively, the things I warned about in this book, just start with book 2, because I haven't finished it, but according to the reviews, it kind of like, it doesn't have all of the distasteful content that this one does, while still being about the same world and story. So start with book 2 if you're nervous that you might not like the content in this one. And apparently you can just go straight from book 2 to book 3 and then not read this one, so I think you can go the other way around too. I think you can go from book 1 to book 3 and not read book 2, but obviously I'm gonna read book 2. I'm gonna run an ad, and yeah, we're gonna see who's out there. Oh, this is perfect. Okay, we're gonna raid, okay, they're not ending in the next 20 minutes. There's about a 20-minute timer, but they've been going for 7 hours. So they might be ending soon. But we're gonna raid Brisim Klante, who specializes in Egyptian and Greek mythology. So, perfect. That's easy. Let's hope they don't end the stream before we get there. Alright, let's right away. Thanks everyone who hung out with me today. This was a good stream. I got good cooking done. Ooh, the sunset's actually pretty tonight. I don't get great sunsets here despite all the clouds for some reason, but I might in the summer. It was a good stream. Bye everyone. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed the book review. And yeah, I got some good work done. Thanks to everyone. Thanks to all my subs. Thanks to Virtuous Wife for gifting so many subs. You're amazing and brilliant. And yeah, thanks to everyone who stopped by. I hope you guys all enjoyed. I'm Natasha. We do co-working streams, art and creative streams, fashion design, a whole bunch of different stuff. So give a like, give a follow, come check us out more, and we'll be back later this week.
Thank you so much. Natasha Tushkovich Designs. Thank you so much. Welcome in. Hi.